Welcome to Part 2, Cerner Power Chart, View Only. We will now look at some of the most commonly used pages in the chart. The menu, also sometimes called the table of contents, displays on the left side of your screen. When you first get access to Power Chart, it is in a pinned position, meaning that it displays on the left side of the screen at all times. If you wish to unpin it so that you have more room to view the chart, simply click the thumbtack to unpin the menu. Once you have done so, to access the menu, hover over the tab that sticks out and it will appear so that you can use it to navigate to other pages of the chart. To repin it, simply click the thumbtack again so that it points down, and then it will remain extended unless you unpin it again. As on the organizer, the dark blue bar always says the name of the page you are viewing on the left side. Also, the blue bar at the top of the screen now displays the patient's name, whose chart you are in, and your name. Under the dark blue bar on the left side of the screen is a drop-down box. When you open the results page, it defaults to the All Results flowsheet. Notice when you click the drop-down box, there are about 20 other flowsheets listed. Rather than having every result show on one page, results have been split into displaying on these different flowsheets. This keeps you from having to search through every result in the patient's chart when looking for something specific. Under the drop-down window is the navigator. This area displays those categories containing results for this patient. For some patients, the navigator might only have a couple of categories listed. On other patients, the navigator may contain enough categories that a scroll bar is displayed to the right. This is called the navigator because you can use it to move up and down through the flowsheet quickly without scrolling. If you need to look at something in the Other Documents section, you can click the name of it in the navigator. Clicking it moves that section to the top of the page. There is a small check mark to the left of each category name in the navigator. Clicking on this check mark removes it. When the check mark is removed, that section of results is hidden. Clicking it again brings the check mark back and displays that section of results. The refresh button is always located on the right side of whatever page you are currently viewing. It is the small blue double circular arrow with the 4 minutes ago that we see here. The 4 minutes refers to the last time this page was refreshed. It might have auto-refreshed or was refreshed by you clicking this button. It is important to remember that when you access information in Power Chart, you are sending and receiving information to and from one of the many servers in our secure data center. Sometimes, in order to see any new information in the chart, you must click the refresh button. Also be aware every page of the chart does refresh independently. In the main part of the page, there are columns. Each column has a time and date as its header. The most recent thing that happened to or with the patient is the column farthest to the left. To look back in time, scroll to the right using the bottom scroll bar. It is important to know that all results show on the results page. No matter which path was taken for the information to be put in their chart, all roads lead to the results page, so always come here to look up results. Additionally, it is possible to see results from previous admissions by changing the filter. We will look at the filter in a minute. Now we'll switch to a different flowsheet, the vital signs flowsheet. Click the drop-down. You'll also notice when we change flowsheets, the options in our navigator also change, as the information displayed in the main part of our page has now changed to the information that displays on this flowsheet. Over on the right side of the screen, there are 3 circles: Table, Group, and List. When you see circles in Power Chart, they are called radio buttons. The radio buttons here indicate which view you see the results listed in. Right now, we are looking at the table view. When we click the group view, it rearranges the information in a different way. Often, the group view can be handy for looking at trends. When we click the list view, it rearranges the information in a list format. One of the first things you might notice are the results that show in red. Red means it is a critical value. You can right-click on any one of these and click View Details to view the parameters of the critical values. You can see in the bottom half of this box, it displays what the critical low and critical high is set to for this value. Any value entered that is outside those parameters will automatically show up red on the results page. Some values on the results page show an asterisk. This can indicate it is an edited result. To see who did this, right-click and click View Details. The previous result displays with a valid from and until date and time. The current result displays the word current next to it. To see who documented or edited a result and when, click the Action List tab. Their name displays here along with their clinical credentials. Note that an asterisk can also indicate that there is an additional comment on that result which was free texted. Right-click and click View Comment in order to read that comment. Those items marked in error are results that were charted and then marked in error. There is not a delete function in PowerChart once documentation or results are signed. Instead, they display this in error once marked as such. If we want to see a visual representation of the raw data for the patient's pulse rate, we can click anywhere in this gray area where it says pulse rate. When we do, a little check appears in the box to the left of the name, and the graph button lights up. When you click the graph button, we can see a graph of this patient's pulse rate. This button can also be used to visually compare values. Click multiple measurements and then click the graph button to graph all the items selected. It puts each item on a different graphing scale. Clicking the Combine button displays them all on the same graph. Not all results are graphable. Only those results displaying the small gray box can be graphed. Results without the gray box cannot be graphed. Now let's look at all the flow sheet choices. Many people end up using the same flow sheets over and over again in their daily work, so you will get used to what information flows to which sheet. However, there are a couple of items that people commonly look up, so we will talk about these next. The first is admissions information. Many people want to look at the initial information that the admitting nurse has documented. Remember that admissions and decedent information can be found on the Special Event Sets flow sheet. Here we can see all of the initial screenings and assessments done by the admitting nurse. And when it is present, we can also see decedent information on the Special Event Sets flow sheet. Another item often accessed is when critical results were relayed to the physician. This is documented in an area called Narrative, and it pulls over to two different flow sheets on the results page, the Physical Assessment flow sheet and the Measurements flow sheet. At the top of both of these flow sheets is a section called Nursing Narrative Notes. In this section, you can view when those critical results were relayed to the physician. Note that some disciplines also have an extra tab on this page so that they can readily access important information. The tab may be different for different disciplines. For example, the physician's view of the results page includes many tabs. When a result is not completely viewable, you can hover the mouse over that result and it will display the entirety of the result. If unsure of which flow sheet to use, there is a search button on this page. It is called the ellipsis button. Click it and a search box will open. It is a starts with search, not a contains search, and you have to know the terminology used for the item for which you are searching. For example, when typing ABG, the result of anything that starts with ABG will then display. The ellipsis button does search across all flow sheets, not just the one you are currently viewing. We can see from the search result that returned here that we did not search for the right term, so now we need to try a different term. Typing respiratory, you must then press the Enter key in order to search. Clicking OK merely closes this box. By typing respiratory and pressing the Enter key on the keyboard, we can see many results that return that start with respiratory. After clicking on Respiratory Labs, we see it highlighted in blue. It is now selected. We can now click OK and see the patient's respiratory labs display. If there was more than one result for respiratory labs, it would also display here. If the patient does not have a result in that field, the screen will show no results found, as we see here. Be aware, if you type the word wrong, when you press Enter, the entire box will go blank. That is your cue that it has been misspelled. You can also do a partial name search in the ellipsis button. If no results found displays, and you have cause to think there should be something displaying, the first step is to check the filter. This is the filter. It is the long grayish line that goes the entire width of the page and currently says last 200 results. On this setting, you can at least see the most recent results. It will show you the last 200 things documented for the patient. You can increase this number up to 1,000. Depending on how this filter is set, you can see results from previous visits. Sometimes you need to change your search to see more. To do this, right-click anywhere in the gray bar and click Change Search Criteria. Then a box opens. If you only need to see items from this admission, click the radio button that says Admission Date to Current Date, then click OK. Now, only those items that have been documented on this admission will show on the results page. Notice with the filter on this admission date to current date, more items display in the navigator compared to when it is on just the result count of last 200 results. You can narrow the search even more. Perhaps you only want to see results from the past week. In that case, right-click on the gray bar, click Change Search Criteria, and this time click on the clinical or posting range. These both open the time-date matrix. Whenever you have a date field in PowerChart, there is always a calendar just to the right of it under the larger triangle. If there is already a date in the field, the calendar will default to that date. However, if the field is blank, the calendar will default to today's date. Don't forget to change the time if necessary also. Always use military time in PowerChart. Remember, everything comes to the results page. So if you are on the results page and do not see a result that you expect to see, there are 4 things that you can quickly check to troubleshoot. First, check the refresh button. Click refresh to see if new results need to be brought in. Second, check which flow sheet you are on. You must be on the correct flow sheet to see the result for which you are searching. Third, check the filter. Make sure you have not specifically set the filter so narrowly that you have filtered out the result for which you are looking. And lastly, check the bottom scroll bar. Remember, if you are looking for the most recent result, your scroll bar on the bottom should be all the way to the left. To move back in time, scroll to the right. If you have checked all 4 of these things and still do not see the result for which you are searching, you can call the help desk. Now let's look at another page of the chart. This page is called the Clinical Notes page. It does not have all results like the results page does. However, the things that can be found here are sometimes located more easily on this page. So far, we have just been switching to different flow sheets while staying on the results page. Now we want to navigate to a different page of the chart. Not everyone sees the same pages in the chart. The pages accessible to you are determined by your job duty and how your access is set up in Cerner. On this page, we can see document types in the view pane on the left. To see these folder names more clearly, you can hover your mouse at the edge of the view pane and drag it to make it a bit larger. In the bottom left corner of the screen, there are radio buttons. Right now, we are displaying the type of folder in the view pane. To view one of the documents, double-click the folder, and all the items within that folder are listed in the view pane. Then, double-click the document, and it will show in the main part of the screen. To quickly move between documents within this folder, use the arrows on the bottom left corner of the screen. Sometimes the type folder is not known, but the date is. Click the radio button that says by date. All the folders now are displayed by date name. Or sometimes people need to look by the folder performed by to see the name of the person who entered the result. If the item on the clinical notes page has been scanned into the chart, there will be an extra toolbar at the bottom of the screen, as shown here. You can also see this extra toolbar with documents that have been pushed over from another system. By comparison, this note was created within PowerChart and does not have the extra toolbar at the bottom of the screen. Be aware, if it's a face sheet you're looking for, you can put the radio button on by type and find the folder called Face Sheet. You may need to use the Zoom button in the toolbar at the bottom of the image so that the image appears larger and is more easily readable. Photo IDs can be found under a type folder called Photo ID. Be aware, on these types of scanned documents, there is typically more than one page. Be sure to look at the page count in the toolbar. Then, if needed, use the arrows to move through the scan pages to find the information you need. Keep in mind, the clinical notes page does not display everything. Limited items can be found on this page. However, all items can be found on the results page. Form Browser is a page of the chart that lists the forms that have been filled out for this patient. Do not come to Form Browser to look up results. Documentation enters the chart in a multitude of ways. Attempting to look up results from the Form Browser page can result in inaccurate report being given on results. Only use Form Browser to modify and unchart items if you chart using forms. This concludes Part 2 for Cerner PowerChart View Only. Please remember you can re-watch this module at any time by going to the My Transcript tab in HealthStream. Now, return to HealthStream and watch Part 3.